a look at Envisioning Schools of the Future by Rob Smith, Valerie Stover, and Stephanie Phillips for ITC 5440 with Dr. Paul Wallace. MMOs, virtual worlds, and augmented realities offer immersive environments for learning. Students have an online community in which to meet, collaborate, and interact with other students and other faculty. This complies with the social constructivist theory as described by Vygotsky and is detailed further in Presence Pedagogy, Teaching and Learning in a 3D Virtual Immersive World by Bronack, Sanders, Cheney, Reidel, Tashner, and Matson of Appalachian State University.
In reading the supplemental text, Presence Pedagogy, our group felt it most effective to develop a pros and cons list to accurately weigh the benefits of such technologies. Of the most obvious benefits to technologies such as virtual worlds and MMOs, engagement and collaboration rank among the top. As stated within the article, Presence Pedagogy, virtual environments serve as powerful spaces through which effective learning communities may be formed and nurtured. These learning communities, also known as communities of practice, are bound together by the commonality and mutual engagement of the participants' academic focus. Additional benefits of virtual worlds and MMOs are results of the structure of the technology. Jonathan argues that technology should be used to keep students active, constructive, collaborative, intentional, complex, contextual, conversational, and reflective. As participants juggle various responsibilities, the format of virtual worlds and MMOs allow one to engage in the learning experience at their leisure. Also, unlike traditional pedagogies, participants are not limited to collaborating with those within their course. Essentially, a virtual community is created, allowing participants to wear many hats and learn from one another.
MMOs, virtual worlds, and augmented realities offer online communities and environments in which to learn. The learning may be very focused and strategic. However, virtual environments allow for serendipitous interaction, which helps move one through the stages of learning from novice to expert. Pedagogy is a skill set used to teach others, and presence pedagogy helps instructors and others identify cognitive hooks on which to hang new, formalized knowledge.
Okay, and now we're going to focus on the cons of using MMOs, virtual realities, or augmented realities in the classroom. One of the first ones that's a big con is limiting face-to-face interaction, especially for younger ages, middle grades, and elementary school. If you went to a virtual type classroom where students work from home, there is that face-to-face instruction is completely gone. That needs to be there. Also, you know, when students, especially we're middle grade teachers, when students become socially aware, 6th grade, into 5th grade, definitely by 7th grade, they start reading body language. If you start doing only virtual classrooms, the avatars don't really show much virtual emotion. I mean, you have those smiley faces and things you can put in there, but you know that's just not real reading people or reading emotions. Especially, you know, you get things like sarcasm, you get facial expressions, reading body movement, hand movement, excitement. All those things are missing. More cons is that the social interaction disappears. Real world social interaction is very important, and students learn that in school because you're around a lot more people than you just would be at home. Now in the city environment, you can get out a little more. When you get into a rural setting like most of our schools are, those, you know, school is the interaction point for most students. Now in this last one where people take on personas, like in a virtual world or a virtual classroom or an MMO, you're not sure if you're really talking to that person. And there are people act completely different than they do in the real world compared to they do in the virtual world. So is that hindering your education? I don't know. We don't know. And the virtual egos that do develop, can be a problem. Now, is everybody that way? No, but it can be a problem. Intrinsic motivation is very important for a virtual style classroom, virtual style education. If a student does not have that in a regular classroom, it's the teacher, it's the guidance counselor, it's the administrators, it's the school staff that is there to support the student and to motivate the student to succeed. In a virtual world, what is there to motivate the student? Not much. It's all intrinsic. That's why virtual worlds or virtual classrooms work better for adults. And now the point of a virtual classroom or virtual worlds or MMOs or anything like that is to use others to learn, is to use others to interact online. However, then you could use that as a crutch too much. For example, using middle school students, we don't want to teach them to work in groups, and then when they get to high school, they don't have the ability to work individually. So we try to find the balance as teachers as to what is an individual assignment and to what is a group assignment. All right, so our group got together, weighed the pros and cons down, and here's our opinion. The majority of the virtual worlds, the augmented realities, and the MMOs, they're not quite ready for public instruction. I mean, think about the things you can do on Sims. It's actually appalling if you brought that into a classroom. Regulations are not quite in place so that you can bring that into a classroom. Some virtual classrooms, they're already, like the Open Quack. If you took Open Quack and you put it into the public school systems, I think that would work as long as it's regulated or monitored by a teacher. Money and technology infrastructure is really not there yet. Most schools are still lacking in technology. That's slowly changing, but again, the key word there is slowly changing. And now here's the big deal. It needs to come from the district or statewide government saying that this is either okay, or this is the layout we're going to do, this is the format we're going to do. So much of what teachers are trying to do using virtual worlds, virtual classrooms, I mean, even Edmodo, it's a very gray area in the rules of acceptable use. DPI, or the district, needs to create acceptable use and needs to roll out a format that's okay. And then again, staff development and training would need to follow. What's the next step for our schools? Most people are starting to do this, especially those that are in this cohort of impact, but we need to blend face-to-face instruction with online interfacing. And online interfacing can be a virtual world, excuse me. It can be Edmodo. It can be just a social media that's developed for the class. Supplemental course offerings are offered a lot more at the high school than they are in middle grades where we are, and that they can start incorporating a virtual classroom into it. That needs to be a district-wide type thing. For example, if you have a social studies student who is more advanced than the curriculum you're teaching in 7th grade, why not go ahead and put them in an advanced social studies class? Or say your school cannot offer a certain elective. Why not get that elective virtually that maybe the rest of the county, maybe there's a handful of 12 to 15 students in the county that want to take that online elective. So they would meet in a virtual classroom and they would take that elective together. Then the numbers are there to support that class. Also with saying that as supplemental course offerings, it's still very important to have a regular classroom setting, as we know, so that students can have their social interactions and they can start establishing their behavioral norms and learn how to read people, learn how to read people's characteristics. Going to school is still very important. And the last one, we've had this problem the whole time throughout the cohort, and even in this class, when we try to actually go in with our school computers or on our school network to do our research for a virtual world, for an MMO, for an augmented reality, we're blocked. We're constantly blocked, and even now we have the state filter. The state filter blocks us because most of these things that we're trying to do are considered games. So that needs to move on. Now, where are we going to end up going? I mean, we are going to become more virtual. Even June Atkinson herself, in a meeting we had at NC State, said, what's the point of grade levels when you can just teach to the level of the student, not just teach to a group of grade level students? For example, if we created virtual classrooms, then the student that is ready to take the advanced class can take the advanced class. And the students that aren't can go into a lower basic level class. And these could be virtual level classes. And as soon as they pass it, they can. You can maybe go into the class and go on at your own time, your own pacing guide for the students if they're very intrinsically motivated. You can see this start to happen. You see it starting to happen. I'm not sure yet, but I can see a charter school starting online. I don't know if that's happened yet, but I could see that coming. Anyways, that's our presentation. Thank you.